Welcome friends, it's Rae. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I want to apologize for being missing in action for so long. But I've had a couple of family events that really have taken me away from crafting. I will talk a little bit more about that towards the end, but just wanted to give you a heads up. Alright, so we're going to look at the color layering peonies bunch stencils from Hero Arts. And I think the important thing to note is that the stencils are labeled at the bottom, in the bottom left corner of each. However, whenever you look at you have a guide, you want to look at your guide and make sure that you know the order in which to layer. For this particular set, the stencils are layered, we're not going to use the stencils in the order in which they are labeled. Down at the bottom, I'm sure you can't see that, but etched in the stencil is the alphabet A. So this is stencil A, and there are 4 stencils, so we've got A through D. Okay, so if you look at the guide, stencil A, the full flower, that's where we start, and then we're going to move to stencil D, and that would be the highlights of the flower. And then we're going to move to stencil C per the guide, and these are the solid leaves of the flower. And then we'll move to stencil B, which are the highlights for the leaves. All right, so just make sure you have your layers in order before you start your project. All right, and so the other main image we're using in our set today is this watering tin can by Sunny Studios. It has a layer, so it has the solid piece and then the highlights, okay, or outline. We're going to use some other things in the video, but these are our 2 main products. I've placed a white card panel in my MISTI, and I'm going to place stencil A in the top right corner of my MISTI and add my magnets there and bring in my Distress Oxide ink in salt water taffy and my blending brush, and go ahead and color in stencil A. Here I'm bringing in stencil D, the highlights for the flower, and my Distress Oxide in Abandoned Coral to add those highlights. Next I'm bringing in stencil C to add the solid leaves, and I'm bringing in my bundled sage for this. I'm bringing in stencil B, the highlights for the leaves, and using Forest Moss Distress Oxide ink. So something a little darker to highlight and accentuate those leaves. I've placed the solid stamp, watering can stamp in my MISTI, and stamping that with Lost Shadow Distress Oxide ink. So I have to ink this up and stamp it several times because that middle part, for whatever reason, is just not stamping. So I'm gonna repeat this until I get to the point where it's better but it kind of looks like part of the appeal of the stamp. So I'm okay with it, and I move on to that outline image. The outline stamp really enhances this image, so I'm bringing this in and I'm going to stamp it with Black Soot Distress Oxide ink. I have placed another sheet of cardstock in my MISTI and my grid, acetate grid sheet, so that I can line it up. And this is a sub sentiment from Pink and Maine that I'm using, and I've applied my anti-static powder and using my Nocturne ink and just stamping that twice. I heat set that off camera with my heat tool. So here I'm working on my background, and I've cut out the postage collage die by Waffle Flower. Cut that out and bringing in the coordinating stencil and lining that up onto my grip mat, and bringing in my tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going around, mainly around the edges of that, and bringing in that soft blue color to enhance the background. That's all I'm doing here. Put a little more on that right side than I wanted, but that's gonna kind of blend into the background, so not really concerned. Checking that out. Now I'm coming in with that same bundled Sage Distress Oxide and my blending brush, and we'll do the same for those bottom two squares, just lightly bringing that color in. All right. And here I am cutting, I've die cut 2 of these bouquets, peony bouquets, and am using my scissors to fussy cut out just the top off, so that I have those 3 larger bouquet flowers in my bouquet. And then I'm just going to do the same with my second bouquet that I colored off camera, and then I'm gonna layer this up. And sorry, I did not have my camera on when I did this. I layered these up, and I used some press and seal to hold them together, so that I can get them affixed together. So I'm just going to bring in my liquid glue and affix these together. And I do bring in my watering can and position my bouquet around that watering can, so I can figure out exactly where I want to add glue to affix the bouquet to the watering can. Then I bring in my background to, make sure I've got everything lined up the way I want it. And then I did add double-sided or added foam tape to the back of my bouquet because I do want that raised. So now I can go ahead and put my bouquet together, and I partially release the release tape on the back of my bouquet, and am adding liquid glue, and then we'll affix this to my bouquet, my watering can. Bringing in my mom and sentiment and my sub-sentiment and trying to figure out the placement here of those. And then I'm going to pop my sub-sentiment up on foam tape and get that placed down. And that around that time is when I realized that I've got some foam squares behind that bottom leaf that you see next to the mom here. And I'm going to remove some of that foam tape and just stick that leaf down so that mom will fit better over top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this sentiment fixed. And here I am performing a little surgery, removing that foam tape from the leaf. So I'm making this card for Mother's Day for my mom. But wanted to just let you know that I've had a couple of issues in my family. At the end of January, my 85-year-old mother, we almost lost her. She had a combination of the flu and pneumonia and a couple of other things, and was hospitalized in ICU for quite a while, and God brought her out of it, thank the Lord. And now she has been in rehab for several months, trying to learn how to walk again and do some basic things that she was able to do for herself. Did place double-sided tape on the back of my background panel, and I removed it, or removed the release paper, and now I'm adding liquid glue in the places that I did not add foam tape, but also over top the foam tape. I just needed this to be super strong to hold everything, and wiggle room to be able to make sure I get it positioned on the card base just right. And so that's what I'm doing. And so in our finished card, you will see that I cut my two floral bouquets and layered them and added some foam tape on the back for dimension. And I actually should have cut this leaf off, but I kind of retrofitted it and removed the foam tape from the back, because I did have foam tape there, when I realized that this is kind of where I want my sentiment, and I didn't want that leaf popped up. So I just glued it all the way down, and that way I was able to get my mom sentiment in there. Look at all that depth and dimension and how full that bouquet is. So I was in Alabama for about 3.5 weeks, and then came home, and about 2.5 weeks later, unexpectedly, my sister passed away, and so I had to go back to Alabama. And I am just, I've been home a few weeks now, and I'm just getting back into the swing of things. So hopefully I can get back to some consistent crafting. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, good day, friends.